Morning, everybody. Oops. Why is it picking up both? What a weird thing. What the heck? Oh, that's why. Figured it out. But yeah, guys, so we had news at 6. Okay, so 6 and 7. So there's 2 news events here. So I think that this first one may be manipulation. We're obviously gonna have to see. We do see that the yields have dropped. Let me switch this. All right, so again, if we see, like I've been saying, this wick here and this fair value gap, we should be able to see a strong response back lower if it is going to drop. Hanging around in here is not a good sign for downside. So again, we're just going to have to see. The line in the sand is if we break outside of this wick. Of course, we do have this bearish order block, so we're going to have to keep that in mind. See how that responds. But for the most part, it seems like we may have kind of bottomed out here on the bonds, so we're gonna have to just see if there's more evidence. I know that NFP is coming, and NFP, in my opinion, is going to set the stage for whether we're gonna try to start attacking buy side now, which would support downside downside DXY, and then upside for the indices. So we're gonna have to keep that in mind. Again, it's not unreasonable for them to want to retrace real quick, get down into some of these levels to then go higher, because if you think of power 3, like I always mention, price dropping lower at the start of the week if we're bullish is what we want to see. All right, so, and then of course, if this goes higher, this goes lower, and the currencies continue to go higher, that'll obviously support buy side indices. I do see this S&T, so that may end up being somewhat of an issue for buys. It may look, so we did pierce out the buy side liquidity here that I wanted to see price retrace first, then go attack. So that's kind of interesting. Couple that with the SMT, so that may lead us to price wanting to seek lower prices in some capacity. Again, I was wanting to see DXY rally up first. It wasn't unreasonable for them to want to hold below it. I said that if it held below it to start the week, and it started just really attacking sell side, that's very, very strong indication that we are extremely interested in seeking shorts for the DXY. Got this gap in here. How's everybody doing this morning, by the way? Let me know in the chat. Again, if you get value from the content, don't forget to like the video. I forget all the time too. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Really helps the channel out and reminds you when I go live. And it's greatly appreciated. So yeah, again, we have this new week opening gap. We have one here too. So you could see that this is it's held price below. This is also held price below. Again, I really did want to see us run up first, but this is just an indication that we are extremely interested in looking to the short side if obviously that's to take place. Now, if we start getting displacement and we get it back above this gap here, say we end up, maybe piercing out this high, leaving this order block intact, then obviously the upper range targets that we have outlined here, could end up becoming part of the equation. So yeah. Again, because there was no news at 6:30, because we have NFP, and multiple factors, engaging or even encouraging action to be taking place before the 6:30 open is ill-advised. So that's why we're starting a little later, at least for my private community, because normally we're up at 5:30, 5 o'clock. So yeah, let's see what happens here. We have a high, low, swing low down here, but we have this bullish order block down here to watch. So the mid portion of that, I say if we lose this gap here, my eyes are definitely gravitating to the low of this quarterly fair value gap. I feel like that would be in the cards if we stay below this, you get below this, and violate the mid portion of the bullish order block I highlighted. Okay, it's pretty much right here. And let's look at the yields. So yeah, all the yields have taken out the low, right? Low here, there's no SMT really. We do have a swing low here that the others don't have. I guess it's right here. But yeah, we're still inside of a bullish breaker. And again, I would really, really like to see us start slamming through these lows if it is going to want to be interested in going lower, because this could very easily turn into just a run on stops, retracement back to a bullish breaker to then look to continue to rally higher. We're pretty much gravitating towards the middle portion of this current range also. So again, the bonds and yields are a bit questionable right now. We're actually right at equilibrium. So that's sometimes problematic, especially ahead of NFP. That could turn into an issue. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind. Let's go back to the DXY. Again, we have this fair value gap, but we have this one too. I say if we break above this fair value gap, and then we get above this new week opening gap, this may end up acting in a balanced price range fashion, because if it overlaps it with another fair value gap, we want to watch that and see if it's going to be the reason price ends up using to push higher. Again, if we stay below that, we're going to probably continue going lower, because we did technically take out stops here, and we kind of stayed inside this wick midpoint, right? Worked a little bit higher, but for the most part, it's been holding in bearish capacity. So we need displacement higher, breaking through this fair value gap, leaving these lower PD arrays intact in order for us to look to target buy side. Again, if this stays intact, we're going to put a pin in price looking to maybe go lower. I wouldn't be, again, surprised if we do end up, using this as potential manipulation, and then price does want to rally up here. I mean, because this is just reasonable. That doesn't turn off my interest for DXY to go lower overall. But, it may be an adjustment that's needed for us to make for today going into NFP. We are still in a range-bound environment for the DXY, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Why is that important? So you know how to manage your risk. You don't go in here on NFP week when we're in consolidation, when the bonds and yields are returning back to equilibrium, right, from this high to that low, from this high to that low, and then from, again, this high to that low, we're at equilibrium, right? So all those factors in place, you got to manage your risk properly, okay? I would really like to see, again, DXY continue to fall, bonds look to continue to rally, and then that should translate to us seeing the indices do this little retracement, leave a lot of this range down here available, keep this new day opening gap and these areas intact, and then just look to run up and try to target the buy side up here. This looks really nice. But again, if we start losing these areas down here, our attention would then shift and go right back down to sell side delivery. But for now, of course, we are in a kind of sloppy environment. This week has been very, very slow. So given the fact that it's been very slow and we're ahead of the NFP announcement, I think that NFP is going to be very, very dynamic range expansion type of characteristic. Okay, so, we'll see how today plays out. We have pretty much been consolidated. If we look at the high here, that was we have Friday's high that was taken, as you see here. When you trade on Monday, generally that is the target for the most part before anything else happens, because that's the most recent liquidity pull from last week. So they purged out buy side here. We have Friday's low here as well. So Friday's high and Friday's low. All right, so. And then we got this 8-hour fair value gap that price is chilling within. All right, so buy side's labeled up here. We have this wick up here. That's what this range is that you see like the little fib thing on. There's the midpoint of the larger time frame wick. I believe it's a daily wick, if I'm not mistaken. It's a weekly wick actually. Why did I put it right there? There we go. So the weekly wick, we're at a quarter point. Let me kind of clean this up a bit. So we want to see what the behavior is going to be here. I've been talking about how, this high and this high getting violated changes the state of delivery for me from bearish to bullish. I also kind of talked about this in terms of a type of dealing range that this is. There's type 1, type 2. And just overall changes in the state of delivery, balanced price ranges, so on and so forth. I had a conversation about that this week, or yesterday, and I think on Sunday too. I've talked about it a lot though. But yeah, so we also have this gap, so we want to watch that. Got a gap in here, we want to watch that. But yeah, I want to see how the current liquidity that we have available here gets treated in this range here. Is price going to tap into this quickly and then run? Me saying that doesn't mean that there's no potential chance to short into that, because that could very well be the case too, right? That may offer an opportunity there, which, some of my students took today. My little brother actually took it today, which is amazing. These do look pretty juicy though when you get to this time frame, right? We got these relative equal lows. Not only that, this is Friday's low. So I'm, not too conflicted about, getting an opportunity to get down there. We have a regular trading hours gap that's kind of tiny. It's less than 120 points. Just like yesterday, how it was tiny. Regular trading hours gaps being so small also can lead to conditions being a little harder to trade, like less likely to really run. Sometimes it's not the case. A lot of times it is. It's just one of those situational awareness pieces of information you want to keep in mind. And so, yeah. Again, I'd really like to see, given what we've seen so far, how prices did this huge retracement, failure swings to the downside. I would, excuse me, I would really like to see us maybe displace, get us above this high. If that's the case, I'll use this as a bullish breaker and then look to take the trade up into the highs up here and maybe even beyond up to our further levels, right? I'm going to let 630 print. I'm going to allow some movement so that we can get closer to silver bullet and the first macro. Just, let price print a bit. It's not a week to be very aggressive. It's not a week to be a reckless gambler. We do have a wick here, so let's see if that midpoint gets respected, because that will be significant. And then if we displace below this, right, that may offer an opportunity for us to target sell side. But again, this up here getting violated puts my attention in the bullish direction. We have an argument for both sides that makes sense. Higher time frame wise, it seems like things may be changing from bearish to bullish though. We're having a decent amount of better news in the news, I guess you could say. And again, things are positive for our economy that are taking place for the U.S. So yeah, we're back to the midpoint of this, right? So let's see what's going to happen with this. DXY looks like a mess. Let's go to DXY. Again, we see we're in this range. So yeah, I'm just going to let it run a bit. Because you can maybe sit there and make the argument that, oh, this is going to short, right? There could be an argument for that. But again, I want to let price print a bit, and then I'll make a decision. So we also have the 9 o'clock time here. So we got the high, first 30 minutes. So first 30 minutes of the daily range. Mark that off. So if price stays below this and stays below the regular trading hours gap, we will have even more confidence, especially if DXY was to run higher, which honestly, I don't think there's a huge argument for that right now, at least for now. But, you know, if it was to run higher and we saw a displacement here, respect to these levels I'm talking about, maybe even get down below, you know, this previous new day opening gap from, what was that, Thursday? I think we have a new day opening gap in here too somewhere. If I could find it. Yeah, very tiny right in here. Right, so that's another level you want to keep in mind. So yeah, if we see this get overlapped and price runs up, maybe even uses it as an inversion, we do have relative equal highs. We have taken Friday's high, and I would have, you know, kind of preferred it to do this if we're going to go higher. I would like to see, you know, price use maybe this 8-hour fair value gap and use it as support to rally if DXY is going to continue to the downside and not even really try to engage the buy side. We do see this response here, new day opening gap, beautiful wick off of that. We got fair value gap overlaps in here, so this is potentially going to act in a balanced price range fashion if it's going to go higher. I'm not sure how confident I am in that, given the fact that we've been range bound so far. Hasn't been too excited. This behavior on Mondays and Tuesdays ahead of NFP really gets me thinking that, you know, they're going to hold price for the most part and not do too much exciting behavior because they're going to wait in anticipation for NFP. That doesn't mean that they can't get down into here, because that would still technically be keeping us in that little range. We have a weekly volume imbalance in here too. I don't want to make the chart too busy. It's already really, really busy. But that's a level that I'm keeping in mind. Maybe I will drag it over. So that's a pretty beautiful response off that. So yeah, again, this fair value gap here is going to be significant. We've had 5 minutes play out already. Let's see if the first presented fair value gap's there. So we have no first presented fair value gap yet. DXY is still continuing to march lower. So again, this up movement here, if price was to get above that, I would use that as a bullish breaker on, I believe, that 15-minute time frame. And then if price was to get up there and push, then obviously that would be good groundwork for us to then position on that lower time frame. If price was to retrace into it, that would be a good position for us to then look to try to find our model when that takes place. We're watching this wick here. There's nothing thinking buy right now, you know, at least for me. All right. Now, obviously, you can make your own decisions, and I encourage you to be independent thinkers. But yeah, consider some of these things that I've mentioned. So yeah, we got this regular trading hours gap. We got this fair value gap. So again, we want to also pay attention to this, because this is an overlapped fair value gap behavior, bouncing from a 8-hour fair value gap. So if that stays intact, if this new day opening gap stays intact, there's the one in here too, like I mentioned. in here too, right? So if those stay intact and price pushes higher from these levels, again, that puts my attention here at that 15-minute potential bullish breaker. Otherwise, it's going to short and attack the lows, right? So now you do what you will with that information. All right, but yeah, so this fair value gap is being utilized. So we've got the down wick here with that 8-hour fair value gap. So again, these levels, we're doing an if-then type of scenario right now because there's an argument that can be made for either side. Higher time frame wise, like we talked about, looks like we may be changing the overall mode of delivery, right? There's not really any SMT really. Price broke this high. We don't want to see that type of stuff. This retracement should have continued to push price lower. But obviously there's been a lot of things taking place and price has now been held getting above the highs up here. There is SMT here. Okay, so that could maybe be a reason why price does end up holding and displaces lower. There has been some short opportunities. I just personally didn't engage. Some of my students did. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? So again, this is the line in the sand for shorts to be invalid. Okay? Otherwise, again, it's going to short. And then we have these equal lows down here. I don't like how DXY has a cracking correlation with the indices. Again, why is that important to identify? Because that helps you know whether you are in a higher risk environment or not. Cracks in correlation, stuck at equilibrium, ahead of the NFP announcement, in a, did I just say in a consolidation? Yeah, in a consolidation, so on and so forth. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much the state that we're involved in right now. So again, I'm gonna say it again and again and again. Manage your risk properly. This is my line in the sand. If I'm gonna look to buy, it has to get above here in order for me to want to engage, and otherwise, again, it's gonna take out these lows. So we're gonna continue to monitor which one of these things is going to stick. And if it displaces below this low, getting us down here, I will use these up candles as a bearish order block. And that's how, if price returns back into it in some capacity, that's how I would be able to think about maybe trying to position, especially if this creates an order block, and then I go down to like the seconds chart or the 1 minute, and then I see price creating one of the models I like to utilize. But I frame it from that higher time frame. So yeah, let's see how this behaves in this regular trading hours gap. I'd much rather prefer to be conservative today and allow this to take this low out before I look to find a continuation. Because DXY being so aggressive to... Here, let me fix this real quick. It's bothering me. It was a little off. So yeah. Just given the fact that DXY has been so aggressive to the downside, the higher time frame on the Nasdaq and indices overall have shown that they have somewhat of an interest to go higher. I want to continue to see, what that's going to turn into. So I'd much rather just wait to see how this behaves. Look at the Dow raging higher. So yeah, we got the Nasdaq being the lagger. We got the Dow exploding to these equal highs up here. Swept sell stops, ran up to the buy stops. So there's somewhat cracks in correlation. Seems like things are getting back in line though. So yeah, let's watch what this wants to do. We're approaching the first macro, which is what we want. So yeah, let's see how this behaves. So there's a run on stops here. Going to be shift above the high. But again, I don't like this behavior here, so I'm going to be extra cautious because that's just the way it is. Okay? It's the way it's going to be. You know, serves me well and my students well to think this way when conditions are, you know, the way they are. So, you know, just consider this way of thinking, okay? So yeah, regular trading hours gap. We're just kind of stalling inside this. I can tell you that if this high stays intact, if it leaves that available and then we displace below this, that would then turn my attention to the down candles here, turning into a mitigation block. And then again, that would beautifully allow me to take a short, which I would then use to target the lows down there. So again, I'm in a mode of gathering intel, waiting to see what's going to take place. We also, again, have that 15-minute fair value gap, right? And we're inside of this larger 15-minute potential balanced price range. All right, and that obviously everything we're talking about in here is working within this. It's also at a, ooh, I almost missed that. It's an 8-hour bullish order block there. I didn't really miss it because I have the 8-hour fair value gap. Maybe that's why I didn't identify it. So yeah, that is kind of convincing. There's an order block on the 8-hour and there's a 8-hour fair value gap. So it's kind of pushing me towards more of a buy scenario now. Just let things kind of unfold. These up candles here. So I'm going to remove this potential mitigation block. But I'm going to, what is this? Then I'm going to use that high as a potential bullish breaker there. I'm going to monitor how that behaves. So I think we have a good amount of overlapping buy-side identifiers. That being the 8-hour fair value gap, 8-hour order block. We have this 1-hour potential balanced price range. Okay. And then again, we have this fair value gap that dropped lower. And now we're starting to try to punch through it. The wick midpoint, again, we want to watch that because when we see multiple things starting to get violated, that becomes a problem if we're looking in this case to short. Okay. Only way right now that I'd be looking to short is if we displace back down below these areas. Otherwise, this is going to act as a bullish order block or a bullish order block, bullish breaker, so on and so forth. And these relative equal highs look pretty juicy up there. One thing I really don't like though is the S&P. That kind of bothers me a little bit. But you know, we're in a very rough environment right now. So again, you want to be very cautious. And I'm not going to encourage you guys to do more than you really need to do, you know, because these are the times that people get destroyed, okay? Because they overtrade, they force things in a market that doesn't really want to do anything. And then, you know, they deal with unnecessary pain. So yeah, the only way I'd even consider a possibility of a buy here for myself is if we tap back into this. It may not, because we just overlapped the fair value gap now that I've been talking about, right? So now we're outside of that, pushing into this order block here, right? So an aggressive opportunity to push it higher could come from that breaker. Or you can, again, wait till my initial idea takes place and we get above this, then use this as a bullish breaker. And then you could just drop down lower time frame, see if there's something you can use to position in there, and then target minimums or target the buy side. And so I want to see the behavior here. What's the response going to be from this? So I'd prefer to see that fail. The bearish order block we just looked at, I want to see that fail. The wick here that I wanted to see hold for shorts, violated. So we got this now running up through this So again, we're starting to build a narrative, even when both sides were possibility. We're now leaning towards more of a bullish scenario. We've got relative equal highs up here, so that's looks like that's what it's targeting. And it didn't offer me an opportunity. So what happened? I missed a move. If we would have returned into this, I would have taken a buy, just like I said. But again, sometimes it's not going to offer it to you. And you can either sit there and get upset and mess up the entire session for yourself, maybe even the rest of the week. Or you could just look at that and be grateful that we were able to identify things that led us to trusting that buy side may end up getting targeted over the sell side. Because if you went in there trying to short, you would have got totally destroyed unless you took this, which some of my students did. My little brother too. I'm Reckless is in the chat. It's my little brother, for y'all that don't know. It's becoming a monster. First presented for value gap. Took it high. Where's the first presented? Oh, right here, huh? Yeah, you're right. You are right. So yeah, it's just another reason why price can be trusted right now to go higher. Okay, so for now, that's going to be my assumption. Seems like they dug it lower to start the session. Beautiful. Manipulation to get us to go higher. We also have the daily open here. So that is the, power 3 dynamic. So open price. Price has dug lower and now it's running higher. So yeah, we've been kind of building in the narrative to adjust from bearish to bullish. We've just been waiting and waiting and waiting to see continued validation so that we can really adjust, because higher time frame narrative, for those of you that spend time with me a lot, know that I don't change my higher time frame narrative day to day. The bias may change, right? Maybe there's a retracement, or maybe it's going to start a continuation, but the narrative stays the same as long as the higher time frame stays the same. So yeah, you can see the S&P is very, very ridiculous. It looks somewhat like there's opportunities though in the lower time frame, which there are. Same with the Nasdaq, but again, I want to wait till these things happen, because it could very easily do something like this again. Right, so let's keep our eyes up here. So now the midpoint, notice how that's getting totally destroyed. 15-minute retracement into the high up here. So yeah, let's see how that wants to behave in here. So now, since we're above this high, I would like to see a model show up, right? Whether that's the YouTube model or breakers or YouTube models, whatever the case may be. I want to see something present itself as we have framed this idea from the higher time frame. I mean, you could, consider, depending on the way that you trade, you can think, maybe you could take the setup from the 15-minute structure. But again, when you take higher time frame entries, if you're using the higher time frame like 15 minutes to enter, your stop is going to have to be pretty, like, decently bigger than it would if you engage something like down here. Right, because structurally it's it looks a little bit different. You'd have to put your stop at least below this midpoint or the low of this fair value gap, because this should act as a balanced price range, because we've now overlapped that. So another important thing about this balanced price range idea is if this doesn't hold and it displaces back below that, what do you think's going to take place? Or what should your mindset be focused on? Shorts, right? Otherwise, this is going to continue going higher. And that's just the way it is. So balanced price ranges are so important. And those of you that haven't looked into that topic, you should. You really should. I talk about it all the time in my private community. So, if you're not in my private community and you want to dig in a little deeper and have a lot more access to support and amazing students that you can also ask questions to, definitely consider joining our private community. See what we have to offer. Link is in the bio. Or you could DM me, one or the other. Yeah, so we're watching this now, this breaker. Let's see if the midpoint can hold up. So this here, this whole entire movement, if this does end up delivering as a breaker, should entirely act as a balanced price range, because sell side's offered, buy side's offered, aggressive buy, aggressive sell. So those two overlap, creating this middle portion as a BPR as price was printing to the buy side. But because we took this high now, we want to see if we can respect, from this high to that low, see if we could stay above the midpoint, because this whole thing should act as a balanced price range. All right, so let's see if DXY can be interested in tanking again. We got run on stops here. Swing high up here could be a shift in market structure. So YouTube model may be presented down in or up in this area if price can get above it, using this bullish breaker on the 15-minute as our higher time frame mapping, right, or framework, positioning, foundation, whatever you want to call it. And now we're on 32nd to try to see if something can take place, pushing us up through that level. We definitely want DXY to fall if we are going to trust this to do what I'm talking about. Look at what the other indices are doing. I don't like the fact that there's an S&T though with the Dow. I really don't like that too much. So, it's a little concerning for any type of buys. So it hasn't done anything for me to want to enter yet. We have our framework though set up, so if it pushes up and proves that this wants to hold and these levels are going to be left intact, then again, just more reason for us to look to engage. See, there's a fair value gap in here, overlapped right there. So if it was to stay above that and run up into this level, again, further context that price's story right now is it wants to go higher. We are in a consolidation. We are ahead of NFP. We got all these things taking place, higher time frame equilibrium, right? Well, actually not for this. There's no equilibrium for this. We're kind of above equilibrium here. But for the most part, it's kind of range bound. So again, it's high risk. Don't push your luck. Me personally, I'm waiting to see if we can get above this here. All right, we do have this large wick, so watching the midpoint of that, this should not spend too much time in this bullish breaker if it's going to deliver higher. Okay, very important. If it spends too much time in here, it's going to be an issue. And the more time that it spends in this area without responding away, the wick here is kind of interesting. But the more time it spends in here, and doesn't use that time to start to deliver, we're inside the macro right now too. If it doesn't deliver soon from this area, it's going to be a problem. Right, so let's see how this wants to behave here. I'm not concerned with this retracing. Even better, because now we got this swing high to watch. So run on stops, a little bit more, a little deeper of a retracement. This here is a market maker buy model as well, which completed, right, if you have that school of thought. So this here too, right, down movement, left to high, price running above that high, change in the state of delivery, shift in market structure, run on stops, and if a fair value gap's left, right next to this bullish breaker here from that 15-minute, and we could see DXY tank, that is a beautiful scenario for us to want to buy. Right? So I hope that made sense. It didn't go over your head, because this is how we read price. Okay. Let me see. Any questions? No questions. All right, cool. So yeah, let's watch what happens here. Let's see. These are the types of conditions where, again, people blow their accounts, where perfection is a little more difficult to achieve. Okay, so the down movement here, up movement here, it should be able to respect the midpoint of that, right? If it's going to continue going higher. Again, we don't really want to see us hang around too long in this 15-minute bullish breaker. There's a fair value gap in here. So that's kind of interesting, right? Let's see how that behaves. We have seen a lot of support for price to want to run higher here. The breakers holding up. Balanced price ranges have held up down there. So it wouldn't be surprising, obviously, if they did want to punch these guys out again. I'd prefer them not to do that. Right, so this right here, right, you do what you will with what you're seeing. I would like to see us push away if it is going to go higher. I would prefer us to start really ramping higher and push away. Again, I don't like the fact that there is that SMT on that lower time frame with the indices. So again, it may not allow it to be done retracing. It may want to try one more time. Leave a third low, right? That's also characteristic for consolidation, which that's what we're in right now. So again, higher risk. So do not do anything dumb. It's just not worth it. So yeah, this here needs to respect the midpoint. It's going to have to deliver here. If this idea is going to be the one that pushes it higher, if not, again, we're gonna have to just wait. All right, so I don't like that. So this move here, with any type of idea, if an execution was taken, we would take that off, right? Because it was anticipated to hold here. DXY starting to fall too. Only way that I'd want to look to buy again potentially is if price wants to get above this fair value gap in there and then uses it as support, still respecting the bullish breaker here. So DXY is falling. That's a pretty strong delivery through the high. So again, this just looks like a mess. It wouldn't be overly surprising if they just wick through this and then try to go lower again, right? It would really not be surprising at all. But I'm preferring to see us run higher a bit. So let's see if we can get that. 7 o'clock news came out. Let's see if this is going to be a retracement. Again, I still got my eyes on the high up here. DXY is tanking, so I'm pretty confident that this breaker, although it wicked a little bit through it, may still end up holding up. We got this balanced price range to watch, so keep that in mind. Got a swing high here. See, for the moment, let's let this news play out a bit. It is returning back into this bullish breaker, right? The second layer, right there. Tap that beautifully. It's also a potentially optimal trade entry for a buy if it's going to go higher, which I want to see it do because DXY. All right, so yeah, let's see what happens here, guys. Still inside that bullish breaker. You notice that? Still hasn't closed outside of it. That's algorithmic. Let's see if that can hold up and continue. DXY is a mess. Okay. All these assets are a mess right now. It's typical for NFP. Pretty beautiful. So optimal trade entry delivered. Now we got shifted market structure back above. 15-minute order or 15-minute fair value gap respected. Balanced price range bullish being respected. Still kinda in a range overall, and then here as well. So again, we want to be very, very. We want to pay attention to that. Go to the 15-second. We have fair value gap, shifted market structure. Run on stops. So let's see if that can lead us into something that goes higher. Again, we got to still keep in mind this SMT that's present. So if that fails and starts displacing lower, again, it came off the heels of that. It's just one of those red flags. I still do favor more runs to the buy side. Just given what we've outlined, what we see, I mean, it's looking pretty clear right now. Right, so you hopefully did what you would with that information, right? With this possible fair value gap. Right. It's a good little area to study, see how far it can go, and if we can map it from this low to that high. See if we can get some projections. Projections aren't perfect, but you know, sometimes they're helpful. We have the overnight first 30 minutes. Price is trading into that as well. So we're above the regular trading hours gap. We're above the first presented fair value gap. So let's see if all these things can stay intact. Order block here. Left the breakaway gap potentially in there. The main issues are the fact that we're, for one, still in a range-bound environment. Two, it's the end of the month, so a lot of times that could be a little more tricky. Three, we have cracks in correlation, somewhat changing at the current moment. Hopefully it changes in a pretty dramatic fashion moving forward. Hopefully it fixes, because these environments, if you felt like it's been more difficult, well, you're absolutely correct, because it is. Because there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of changes, lots of chaos, lots of wars, lots of this, lots of that. So things are, a little bit more difficult. So again, that's why I have been really, really pressing into the fact that risk is elevated right now, overall, not only today, just in general. So you want to make sure you are being very cautious. Again, guys, I want to remind you, if you guys like the content, if you support what we do here, and you get value from the content, definitely like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave your thoughts also. I always like to hear feedback from you guys. What I could do better on, what do you like about the videos and content. And then, of course, if you have friends that you think can get value or add to the conversation, let them know as well. Bring them on over to the WMG Trading family. If you're not in my free Discord, I have a free Discord. And if you want more intimate learning experience, more hands-on, more support, you can join our private community as well, because we got stuff rocking and rolling in there continuously. Lots of good traders in there. So yeah, beautiful run right there off that entry I gave. See if that's going to continue. We'll see. Pretty beautiful if you ask me. What do you guys think? Would that be enough for you to catch? Right? Is that enough? Is that something you can classify as being enough for you and your trading? I know it is for me. Absolutely is. It's beautiful. Beautiful. I don't just say things. When I say or highlight things, they're things that I'm actually considering. I'm very much pushing my stop aggressively. So, oh, whoops, what the heck just happened? I'm definitely rushing my stop far. And if it takes me out, I don't give a shit. Okay. Just because of the environment, and I'm cool with minimums. I don't need to be flashy. I mean, this is a pretty damn good move, if you ask me. So. And see if it'll hold. Right? Is it going to stop me out? I don't like how the DXY is moving, so actually I'm going to exit right there. So yeah, pretty solid if you ask me. Right from our entry here that I talked about. Again, I'm not going to put you in trades. It is what it is. Does it make sense as far as what I've talked about that got me into the trade, that made my opinion highlight that, right? That specific area. You know, did it make sense why we ran up here? You know, all the things that we watched to confirm, things that would negate the idea for one side or another, right? We did things very, very quickly today. You know what I mean? Like from 6:30 to now, or 6:20 to now, we talked about so many things, so many process-driven, systematic, repetitive things, validation, invalidation, higher time frame framework to lower time frame entries, that type of framing. We talked about, you know, where price could be headed. We highlighted many important levels that some of you guys may not really use. We talked about the conditions. We talked about the mindset in this condition, being patient, you know, not over trading, over leveraging. I mean, within this, like, last 40 minutes, let me see, is it 40 minutes? 52 minutes exactly. We've covered a lot, you know. And obviously, depending on your experience level, it would mean, you know, it means more to others. And, you know, things may have went over people's head aggressively because you just don't have the exposure yet. And that's totally fine. If anything didn't make any sense, please let me know in the chat. And yeah, so just let me know in the chat. If you've got any questions, anything like that. If not, I'm going to assume that everything made sense, and I'm very happy about that because that's the point, right? Clarity. So yeah, let's see what happens. If we do lose this bullish breaker in here, right, say it gets down below this low, obviously that can be indicative of price wanting to then look to, you know, come and target the sell side we had highlighted for a minute. But nonetheless, I mean, this is a beautiful run from this fair value gap that I talked about in the moment. 81 points. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. Is 81 points enough for you? Right? Like, I executed a little earlier than that too. I executed in here because I just had a very, very, very strong feeling that we were going to go higher. I did toss in one little small entry in here. It took me out of break even. I was a little skeptical, but nonetheless. What the hell's going on? Right? Beautiful. See, executed in here off this fair value gap. Stopped me out right up in there, so very small. And then I executed in there all the way up to the high of this candle here, like I talked about. It's not a demo account. Well, technically, funded accounts are, but it's not. It makes money. Okay. So yeah, I hope this is encouraging to you guys. I don't do this to toot my own horn, but you know, this is something that my private community students and even you guys on YouTube have been seeing quite a bit just to start the year, and some have seen this for over 3 years, going on 4 years now. This year is going to be 4 years, me being live on, or not live, but posting on YouTube and being like massively public. You know, and again, this is, the executions I show are just to show you that I'm not messing around, okay? I'm not here just blowing smoke up your ass. I'm not here just talking to talk. And I have students too, like, like today, right? Like I said, my little brother actually took an execution. Let me give him his flowers. And I mean, we got tons of stuff taking place just with my students this week. So my little brother took an execution ahead of 6. Right? I was saying don't take a trade. Yet he found his model and engaged, no fear. Right? As he should, as he's being taught by his bigger brother, me. Okay? Beautiful. Look at that precision. He's been trading less than a year. Right? Or maybe we're approaching a year. Sufi, been with me for like maybe a couple weeks. Smacking it. 40-point move. 42-point move. Oh wait, I think that's the same one, right? Yeah. And this week too, look, my student Harley. It's a freaking dynamo. You keep this guy in mind. He is a freaking savage. Okay, he's been with me, I think, a little over a year. Live account. These aren't no games. Okay, we don't play games. The following may be small, and people may show up expecting to get signals and whatnot, and they just choose to run away because they don't get spoon-fed, which they should, because I don't encourage people that want to be spoon-fed just to ride, my executions to do whatever the hell they're trying to do with their account. I don't encourage that, and honestly, it's retarded. I look way down on that because it's really dumb and it's ignorant, because if I get something wrong, they're going to bitch and complain, and I don't have no time for that. I have time for students like Harley, those of you that are here with me continuously, Tony, Nutty Fafa. I don't think he's here today, but he's awesome. And then, you guys know who you are that stay in close contact with me and have been doing very well, using the things that we teach and seeing results. Okay? I don't hide these thoughts. And if my community doesn't grow because I'm not catering to spoon-fed, entitled, lazy people, then so be it. Okay? Doesn't concern me. I'm here. What does concern me is making sure these students here that have given me their trust, you guys here too that hop on all the time, that's my priority, is to make sure that you guys do well. And I'm cool with it being totally exclusive. Why not? All right? Doesn't take anything away from me. I'm still gonna slap the shit out the market every day. Okay, and prove it for those that may still want to join or come hang out with us. But Sebastian too, I talked about him the other day. Amazing. Hopefully I haven't heard from him in a day or so. So I'm going to have to probably reach out. I'm not sure what he's been doing. Maybe he took a break, which I hope. My little brother took multiple entries this week. Amazing. Or was it last week? Can't remember. That was last week, actually. But yeah, it's just amazing, honestly. It really is. Again, guys, if you forgot to like the video or subscribe, or if you just haven't already, definitely go do that. It's much appreciated. It shows me that you guys do like the content, that you do find value in this, and then it tells YouTube also to push this in front of people that are just like you versus a bunch of signal junkies. So the more you guys can like things, given the fact that you guys look at specific things on YouTube, you're looking at probably real process-oriented stuff, so the algorithm gets seasoned to push that type of content in front of them, or in front of other people, because of the way you've seasoned your algorithm and the things you look at. So that does a whole lot on the back end. Not only supports the channel, but it also helps those people, like I said, that are just like you guys, which is my audience, who I want to attract. It helps them get in front of this content, so that we can, continue to help people. So if you could do that for me, it'd be much appreciated. And again, if you're not subscribed and you show up all the time, which I see there's a decent amount, definitely subscribe to the channel. What are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Right? So, again, that'd be much appreciated. And thank you guys that do hop on all the time. And you do find value, and you have been applying it and making and seeing good results. Again, that's my whole goal, because I don't have to be on social media. I really don't. Okay. And honestly, eventually I'm gonna prefer not to. Once I get, my private community where I want it to be, whether it happens, whether it doesn't, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Either way, at some point, I'm not going to be on social media anymore. And I'm just going to stick to, my exclusive group of traders that I've built relationships with. And, we'll ride off into the sunset. That's the goal, right? Because I don't need to be entertained by social media. You shouldn't either. Bro, all the streamers are getting clapped. Yeah. How amazing is that? Yes, can you send me some names of people that have been getting slapped this morning? We didn't get slapped. We actually slapped the market. I said on my Instagram that we were going to beat the shit out the market. And what happened? Came in, gave it a big uppercut, and got out. Did exactly what we wanted. Navigated two opportunities, or two different thought processes, one for shorts, one for buys. Let price print because that was the case, and because we're ahead of NFP, and we eventually were able to read the story. And I told you guys the entry right before it happened, right as it happened. And if you trust the things I say, then your demo account should be flying off the handle since you've joined, because some students that have joined in just the last month, like I said, Sebastian, for example, have been doing phenomenally. Went from blowing accounts, not being able to hold a funded account for a month or less, to he's almost a full month in and he's almost done already getting his first funded account, just by listening to what I'm saying, where price is going to go, why it's going to go there, and then letting him decide with his own model, not forcing him to use my models, but letting him decide with his model, to take an entry, and he's done well, and that's amazing. It's definitely probably one of the fastest changes I've ever seen in somebody that's come to me over, hundreds of people that have come to me in the last 3 years. But yeah, you can see how price is now in a very slopfest mess. It started, kind of in a mess too, but nonetheless, this looks like bullish power 3 to me, wouldn't you say? We're right at the open, so keep in mind that that's the open. You got to think about we're at the open. So if you look at the weekly candle, or daily candle, I should say, this is an indecision candle, right? This is the whole body of the candle is printed. There's a wick all the way to the lows down here. There's a wick up to the high up here. And the body of the candle is now back at the open price. And I appreciate you saying that, Tony. My education's good. I appreciate that. I mean, it's heavily the amount of value that this or any other community is going to provide to you is only going to be as good as your efforts are, and the ability for you to identify what's truly important and make the changes you need to make is going to be specifically tied to, what you're looking to learn. Are you looking to learn just entries, or are you looking to, or to follow somebody? Or are you just looking to find education, to get you into the right information, right? Are you process oriented? Thinking that way and managing risk properly and taking good advice, allowing yourself to know when you're wrong, not fighting it. Those are things that make students highly effective. And then it makes the education you receive, at least in a place like this, a whole lot more meaningful. Because, there's been a lot of people that have come, came and seen my content, or joined my private community or free community or whatnot, and it just turns out to not be for them because they are thinking about the wrong things, and then eventually they come back, right? Because they realize oh snap, it was me that was the problem. He's actually killing it. He's proving it over and over. His students are destroying the market, not blowing their accounts anymore. So they eventually find their way back. But you don't want to look at only finding signals, especially on social media. Most people lie. They can't do what we do. And I'm not even some like crazy hedge fund trader or even a super popular person online. But yet we're in our corner, our little corner of the internet, day after day after day after day after day, student after student after student, crushing the market with a foot on its neck. It never gets away from us. It doesn't mean we're perfect. We will get it wrong. I do get it wrong sometimes. My students get it wrong sometimes. You're going to get it wrong sometimes. Does that change what's happening in the marketplace? Does that change the likelihood of you being successful or not? No. It just extends the time a bit and you have to make adjustments. But it's going to happen, But nobody really even comes out and does this aside from like a handful of ICT traders, okay? And, there's some normal retail traders too. But for the most part, people aren't really doing much. They don't come out here and prove like we do. They just don't. They'll post screenshots. They'll do a fake MT4 screenshot. They do a bunch of nonsense. And people fall for it because they're selling them the fact that, oh, you're going to get a Lambo tomorrow. Oh, follow my signals. I'm 100% win rate. And people fall for it. And, I fell for it before for like a month and a half. And then I realized like, oh, snap, these people are totally lying to me. Okay, let me go find someone that actually does it. And I still couldn't find anybody till I stumbled across ICT's content, back in 2020. So, really started digging into trading in 2019. And then, of course, through all that, it was a disaster at the beginning because it's kind of how it is for all of us. We all start out flailing, not knowing where to go, what direction to go in. These candlesticks look like foreign objects, foreign languages, until you stumble across something like ICT's content, which is a language. He classifies his content as a language, at least the core content of his 2016 stuff. Because once you get the lingo, once you get the language down, things become a whole lot easier to identify certain things and learn things and add on things and improve upon things. And then, of course, what to focus on. It helps you kind of narrow that in. And then, a lot of students watch all that content and they still don't know what the hell is going on. And that's why I started coming online and started reaching out to people and started to teach what I know, because I'm not a complicated individual. I like things very simple and basic, like to the point, very crystal clear. So eventually I was going to be able to teach my little brother. And guess what? I'm here able to teach my little brother. He's in the live call right now. And he took a trade earlier, like I showed y'all. So part of my goals that I set out to achieve or set out to, to work on is coming to fruition. Not only for my own personal stuff, but also for my family. And then, of course, my friends that, not necessarily. A lot of my friends don't even trade, except my friends that are traders. And then people like you guys that hop on here continuously. My goal was to set out to help others if I could accomplish it. It got more solidified that was going to be part of what I do, at least for a little while. Once I started really understanding things after what I've been through as a trader, I just really thought like, dude, like it'd be cool at first, right? When I first started, I always thought, oh, it'd be cool to go out and, maybe teach people when I do learn this stuff. I think that'd be a nice blessing to pass along. Didn't really think much of it until obviously I started really getting funded and being consistent and understanding everything. And then I was like, oh yeah, I gotta, go see if the way that I see things can help somebody else. And then, one student turned to two turned to five, 5 turned to 20 turned to, where we're at now, 100 plus, at least in the grand scheme of things. And I'm really glad that I did, and I hope you guys can pass it on too. Maybe to your families. Maybe you don't want to pass it on to strangers online. Okay. Maybe that's just not something you want to do. Or maybe you don't like to go live because it makes you worried because you're not confident enough yet. That's all it is. But maybe that's something you don't end up doing. That's totally fine. As long as you can help somebody in some capacity, I think that's a really admirable thing for you guys to put into your why. Why are you trading? It can't just be for yourself to make money and get rich. Because when there's times where you don't make money and you don't get rich in 5 days, you're going to be discouraged because it's unrealistic, first of all. And, we let ourselves down a lot easier than we'll let someone else that we care about down. All right. Or, maybe you want to make money so you could donate to causes in your country. Maybe you live in a third world country. Maybe, you want to start a charity. I want to personally, I don't think I've talked about this before. I want to start a nonprofit for like dogs that are, or animals in general that are like stray animals. Because I don't know, it's just kind of heartbreaking to see that. Maybe even help homeless people or whatnot. Because me and my family were homeless at a time, and it was rough, and it was kind of difficult to get help. We don't have a big family, so we didn't really, it was kind of a rough situation, So I think that is something that, at least in my mind, would be something I'd enjoy taking part in, something like that. And it's aside from obviously just making money for myself to buy a Lambo or to do this or do that. I think that, again, you let yourself down, we let ourselves down much easier than we will let someone else down that we care about or someone that we want to help. So that's why your goals have to be bigger than just, oh, I need to make money. And people don't like to hear that. They don't want to think that way, especially if they're new and they're struggling. They don't want to think that way. But you'll quickly find out once you start seeing things pop off that you got to make this bigger than just you. Because the hard times in trading are extremely hard for the most part for many people. The highs are also hard because if you get too high up in your confidence and you don't know how to balance it out, being too confident leads to what? A lot of times you'll overtrade, you'll hold the trade too long, you'll execute on things that are unreasonable, you'll over leverage. So all those problems come from being overly confident in many cases. But then, of course, lacking confidence has its own problems too. You'll execute too late in the trade if you lack confidence. You just won't execute if you lack confidence. You'll get out too early if you lack confidence. You won't let the price run to at least even the minimums. You'll be just stressing out ridiculously. Negative thoughts, right? Negative self-talk will come from being low in confidence, right? So the list is long for both, being too high on confidence and too low on confidence. I actually have a video specifically about that. That's how important this topic is. I won't bore y'all with, even more of the information about that topic. You could just go watch my YouTube video. But these are things you want to keep in mind. Make this bigger than you. You got to keep in mind how you're going to manage the highs and lows. Your confidence. Maybe you lack confidence now because you're experienced. There's nothing wrong with that. That's totally normal. You have to start somewhere. But eventually, especially if you're around a community like the one we have, things start to really, really get better for you. And I'm not saying that just because I want to say I'm the greatest or nothing. No, I see it through the testimonials my students give. And if you haven't looked at some of those, just to get a feel for the vibe here, if you are new, definitely go do that. Don't just take my word for anything. Take the things that I tell you, whether it's, about the testimonials or, mainly about trading, right? Take what I teach you guys and go do it yourself. Look at it from the way that I show you guys how. Try your best to look at it through the lens of how ICT could look at things. Some people don't resonate with his style, his teaching, the way that he does things. But that's okay. But it doesn't mean you don't watch his stuff. You should watch it. Maybe if he starts to ramble about nonsense, maybe skip ahead or whatever. I say just listen to it all because he does things on purpose. Okay, he wants to weed out those that are not serious. So he'll have like a long drawn out conversation and he'll slip in gems all throughout that no other people won't really be able to grab onto because they don't have the patience to sit and listen, and hear these experience-based pieces of information. Because even the long stories that he gives, it's extremely helpful because we don't have 30 years of experience. I'm where I'm at in my skill set. Like, I don't have to ever watch another video again. I know exactly what I'm doing. I've maybe watched 4 videos in the last 3 years, right? Or Yeah, since 2020 or 2022. My bad. Uh, Other than the 2022 model, for the most part, I haven't really watched a full ICT video, other than like his Twitter Spaces, in at this point years. Sometimes I'll watch certain things to review what I already know, because I already have my process, so I don't need any more. I don't need the Venom model. I don't need this, and I don't need that. Like, you find what you want and you step aside. That's what he encourages us to do. You don't want to be like a forever. Well, you always do want to continuously learn about yourself as you improve. But you don't want to forever be stuck in this cycle of, I need to learn every single video because I need to just learn more. That's why I'm not doing well. A lot of times that's not the case. Obviously, you want to look through all the content so you can figure out what works for you, and get certain things organized that are required in a trading system, which again is something I talk about and touch on here in my free Discord, and obviously heavier in my private community. But yeah, you're only going to need a specific amount of things. Where's price going to go? How are you going to manage your risk? Validation, invalidation. What model are you using? What liquidity pools are you going to use to target within your model? What time frames do you use? All these different things. What else is another important thing? PD arrays, right? How to navigate those. So I have 10 specific categories for those of you that haven't dug into this topic with me. Go look at my free Discord, definitely my private community. They already know though. But if you're still trying to figure out how your system needs to be structured, like what is required to have your system be, bulletproof eventually, to allow your system to provide you evidence that you know what the hell you're talking about, the list of topics you need to consider, I have that outlined in my free community and in my private community. Okay? You want to go look at that, and then over time it'll become more useful to you with some subjects, because there's subcategories to each category, but there's like 10 main categories. So over time it'll be a lot more valuable to you. The 10 categories that I separate things into to have a full, very strong trading plan. It's like a business plan, right? But those 10 categories also are arranged in a way and identified in a way that can help you when you struggle, identify the problems you have. And it also can help you identify the strengths you have. So you really get a resource that helps you really nail down where you need to improve and where your weaknesses are, or where your strengths are, I should say. Okay, so there's more to it than, it's just a subject, right? Or just a couple subjects. But yeah, again, I say all that to say you don't really need everything, right? You just need a couple things that make sense to you, right? Specifically those 10 categories. You may have additions that you're going to add, but, watch the videos. Don't be lazy. Show up to videos like this, live calls like this, join communities like mine, like ours, I should say. And, you'll see improvements. Keep your sphere of influence minimal. Don't listen to people driving around in Lambos doing these marketing schemes. Most of them are idiots. And, just put your nose down and grind. Ask questions. Don't be afraid of asking dumb questions. There's no dumb question. At least here there is no dumb question, right? But yeah, this was a pretty nice run here. It's outside of a macro. So given NFP protocols, given the fact that, we already knocked down a pretty strong move. Notice how earlier I said that, this delivery that took place, right? The delivery that sold price off, right? Brought it down to the new day opening gap, down to this balanced price range I identified. I just want to point something out here. Isn't that beautiful how that midpoint of that balanced price range was delivered? Isn't it beautiful how all the delivery to the buy side, the levels that I wanted to see hold price if we were going to go higher, isn't it amazing to see those hold, right? Hopefully calls like this, experiences like this, help you build confidence or start to borrow some of my confidence in what it is that we do and what I talk about, so you can start really, really putting more value on, a lot of these things that you may not have thought about before, or maybe not have been exposed to, like balanced price ranges. Very, very, very important topic. I've been really, really paying attention to that subject for the last couple weeks. Both, slightly here and then very heavy in my private community every single day. But yeah, just keep this topic in mind. You guys definitely want to use them. Balanced price ranges are super helpful. Okay, so notice how, like I said, if we stay above the regular trading hours gap, if we were to get above this high, this would be used as my bullish breaker to send price above the highs. If we were to even eventually get up above here and then continue to stay above it, that would continue to support our interest to go higher. We actually have another idea or another area of influence, this fair value gap in there. That's overlapped. That potentially can act as a balanced price range too. Okay. So yeah, beautiful delivery. Look at the BPR stacking. Okay, stacking here from the I think it was a 1 hour. No, was it the 15-minute, 10-minute? Where the hell was that? Oh, right there, 1 hour. Okay, so yeah, 1 hour balanced price range. Okay, price came down into it, stayed above it, tapped into it, first presented fair value gap 2, pushed away. Drop down to the 10-minute chart, or actually 15-minute. All right, got that. Overlapping fair value gap, acts as a balanced price range. Price gets above this high here, acts as a bullish breaker. Now this whole thing acts as a balanced price range from the middle. Now we're getting above this one, overlapping this fair value gap. Both sides are being delivered. Price gets above it, use it as support. It's going to act as another layered or stacking balanced price range. This is a topic that I'm going to get into a little bit later in great detail in my private community, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully this is kind of self-explanatory, though, for those of you that are listening to it. Stacking balanced price ranges is a pretty advanced topic. Most people, it'll go over their head, but it's highly effective, as is most of the things that we talk about on this channel. Okay. So yeah, let's continue to watch this. Again, I do believe that these are in our crosshairs. Notice how we left equal highs up here. Beautiful. Down delivery. All right, so there's a failure swing in there. Let's go to the S&P, or not the Dow. You see S&T at the lows, further confirming that we're probably going to continue going higher here and blow out the buy side. It has been a pretty solid mess. Okay, so you want to be very cautious, like I've been saying. DXY especially, just a total shit show. Yeah, we're going to continue to watch this. Let's monitor how this fair value gap sends price. I do think it's going to go higher, at least to blow these highs out. We have layered buy side here, layered buy side here. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, if we get down below this, buys would obviously turn off. Right, if it just displaces all the way down there. I mean, right now it's a high risk environment. Right, if you get in, make sure that your risk is very, very minimal. But if you took a trade today, you shouldn't even be, you shouldn't even be considering taking an entry. You should just be sidelined. And at first, a lot of students don't like to hear that, but eventually you see why. Okay, if you take down money in the market, Tony pointed out that most streamers are apparently getting clapped. Okay, getting their cheeks clapped by the market. That's because they don't follow rules, and because they sit and stream in front of people, they think that they have to take a trade. And they don't even know what the hell they're doing at the end of the day anyway. So just a recipe for financial suicide. So you know, we want to be here long term. So things we do here, all based on long term thinking. So yeah, if you guys got any questions, let me know in the chat. We're going to end after this macro takes place. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, you guys. Let me know, did you take a trade today? Did you not take a trade today? Let me know anything you feel is important about today that you maybe learned or reinforced. Yeah, all the streamers are being clapped. It's hilarious. It's so funny. See, if you guys go watch other streamers too, like if you have some of them up and you listen to what we talk about and you compare and contrast, a lot of the times they'll be on the opposite side, being our liquidity. ICT's mentioned that he does that. So I did it a couple times, like 2 months ago, and it is amazing, because we'll think something and they'll think the opposite. And it's pretty eye-opening to see how normal retail trading is so victimized. Like, just we're retail traders too, right? We're not hedge funds or anything, but just the thinking, like, is so diametrically opposed, and like it's wild. Like, their stops for their trades are truly our take profits, right? Or sometimes it's even an entry, like turtle soup, for example. They're getting cooked. So yeah, I hope you guys were all safe today. I do still believe that we will be able to get price to run up. Yeah, Tony said the education they give is not like this. Nope. It absolutely is not. Because most of the time they're trying to cater to, the signal junkies. Because if you just keep giving people dopamine, they become drug addicts. And when you take a trade, that's what happens. Dopamine kicks in. And if you're stressing out, cortisol kicks in. So we're constantly stressing and looking for dopamine every time we take an entry, because we think it's going to make money, right? If you lose, cortisol kicks in. If you win, sometimes cortisol is kicking in, the stress hormone. But then for sure, dopamine's kicking in. So if you're doing things and constantly pumping that in, that's how this becomes, and gambling too, that's how these types of activities can become addicting. That's why you don't want to spend, 20 hours a day on the chart constantly chasing an entry all the time, because, it could also turn into something really, really dark. And you don't want it to be that way. So, let yourself spend time off the chart. Do not be a signal junkie, because, again, you basically, in all reality, those that chase signals are willingly turning themselves into a drug addict. Okay? But for trading, getting that dopamine hit. That's why when I'm off the chart, I'm off the chart. I go do other things. I go with my daughter, do whatever the hell I feel like I'm going to do, So you got to have things outside of trading that you pay attention to. Be able to step away too. Don't think you're going to miss anything. If my content doesn't show you anything other than the fact that you don't got to worry about missing entries, so be it. Okay? Because we're not worried about that over here. And life becomes a whole lot less stressful when it comes to trading if you can cultivate that mindset. So watch this in here. I definitely, given what we see here, am convinced that we will end up probably blowing out those buy-side liquidity pools. We got a low here. Drop down to the 30-second. 15-second. One thing I don't like, though, is obviously the DXY running higher. If you just simply use that balanced price range in here, because we've been talking about that possibly holding in price, maybe you had an opportunity in here of some kind. Not too sure, right? But, everybody has their own model. But, this is reasonable too. Right? Bouncing off the middle portion of that, it's already 37 points. All you need is 20 to 30. Or maybe you took something down here. This is technically a run on stops. There was also S&T at the lows. But you know, that was an opportunity at the balanced price range. All right, isn't it fascinating how the levels that we are mentioning and highlighting, if you take a close look, you see how price uses them so dynamically? They're not a bunch of random levels. Like, these are very impactful levels that set up opportunities and then also sometimes act as targets. All the time they act like targets. All right, we're above the new week opening gap here. Is that from this week? Let's see real quick. Is that from this week? Yeah. So we're actually above the new week opening gap. Beautiful. Regular trading hours gap, we're above it, right? We're above multiple balanced price ranges. We shifted market structure on that 15-minute chart. It's kind of busy right up in here. And now it's using that as a bullish breaker, like I mentioned it would if it stayed above, right? Fair value gap 2. So yeah, it's looking beautiful here. Seems like bullish power 3 is in play. So, you know, the buy side interest is very much on the table still. Just we have a crack in correlation though, so any execution is at lower risk. And if we just start dumping through these fair value gaps that have overlapped in here, these should also act as a balanced price range. Right in there. Right in there. I wouldn't be surprised though if they take this out. I'd prefer them not to. If we go to the 15-second, you can also see this as a possible market maker buy model within that delivery from that bullish breaker to go higher on that 15-minute. You could see this here as a possible market maker buy model. You know, anytime price goes lower to go higher, think market maker buy model. Anytime price goes higher to go lower, think market maker sell model. Like even this, right? Consolidation, accumulation, reaccumulation, smart money reversal, first stage distribution, second stage distribution, but it failed. It still offered something, but it failed below the low here because it was SMT on that larger time frame. And then, of course, the opportunity that we took was here. All right, so we're going to just about call it a day. Oh, what is happening there? Why won't it let me do that? Interesting. This thing is playing games. What the hell's happening? Can y'all hear me okay? Hopefully. Why is it doing that? Yeah? Okay, cool. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, I don't know why it always sends these stupid alerts as if it's not working. So yeah, let's watch what it does here. It's definitely looking like it wants to really layer out the buy side liquidity up there. So again, we're watching the balanced price range. Watching the swing high up here too. I also want to check. So yeah, we're about to potentially have an SMT there. We do have SMT at the highs though. I don't think that's too concerning until we get displacement though. Seems like we're very interested in running up. What is this? The S&P did sweep these lows out. Like I said, for the market maker buy model possibility on the Nasdaq, you look at this too. This high, accumulation, reaccumulation, smart money reversal, right? First stage distribution. This should be able to run higher here in a fast capacity if this is going to complete this market maker buy model. Smart money reversal was at the regular trading hours gap midpoint, which also blew out these lows in here. Okay, so let me ask you guys this: does everybody here trade Nasdaq, or do you guys want me to kind of mix in S&P too? Because I'm more than happy to do that. in terms of like trying to find opportunities. Yeah, let me know in the chat about that. It's something I've been wondering in the last couple of days. I trade S&P. Okay. Okay. Appreciate you letting me know that, Fritz. Dang. Yeah, there's no way that you can trade like a Top Step account and trade the actual futures accounts, right? Or futures data, right? I'm not sure if is that a possibility? Does anybody know? If people that live in other countries can use or trade Top Step and get access to real live data for the futures accounts. Does anybody know if that's even a possibility? Right? That'd be pretty awesome if that's an opportunity that y'all get, because I would highly advise you to take that. If it's reasonable, obviously. But yeah, everything's still moving higher the way that we said it most likely would. Balanced price range in here, market maker buy model, second stage distribution. Again, this should be a quick move above the high. We should be able to leave these intact down there. Everything else is doing it. The S&P, the Dow, they're really, really pushing aggressively. So the CME data, you only have to spend like $7.99 on TradingView, because if you have it on TradingView, they don't double charge you if you already have the data. Like I already have the paid data on TradingView, and through Top Step, I don't pay the extra fee. And that's the thing. You only need like the CME itself, specifically to get the futures contracts. You don't, for the Nasdaq and S&P, you don't really, unless you want to trade gold and silver and all these other futures. But if you specifically trade one asset like we do, there's really no reason for you to have the whole suite, which I think is like upwards of 100 plus a month, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that price, but it's it could get a little pricey for some if you're getting all of it, which you could if that's what you want to do. But I would say focus on just one package, and part of that is literally like $7. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then for those that don't know, once you get funded, your fee falls off. You don't have to pay to maintain. I think you still need the data though, right? But you can get that through TradingView, like I said. Yeah, and again, those of you that were paying attention, hopefully all of you guys are paying attention. I kind of distracted some of you guys, but I did say that this is going to go higher, and if it's going to go higher, it's going to be quick. And it's going to blow the high out. So look what happened. Were we correct again or not? It is what it is, right? I mean, it's over and over and over. What we do is seriously powerful. And So yeah, guys, I hope today was insightful. I hope you guys got value from what we did today. I hope you didn't hurt yourself. And of course, if you follow the rules and you follow what we've been talking about, and you're making sure that you're being responsible, taking this good advice that we give out, um, you know, you either didn't take a trade because something didn't line up, or you took a trade and made some demo profits pretty handsomely. Okay. So yeah, with that being said, guys, I guess we'll put a ribbon on it. Do you guys have any last minute questions before we go? Don't want to leave y'all hanging. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer before we go. If not, obviously I will see a lot of you guys in the free Discord. I'll see my private community students tomorrow morning, and I'll also see you guys on Sunday here on YouTube. Yeah, I'll give y'all a second to answer that. Again, if you guys like the video and aren't subscribed to the channel, definitely go do that. If you haven't already, definitely like the video, subscribe, share the content with other people that you think can either add to the conversation or can give value from the conversations we have here. Again, it's much appreciated. The YouTube channel, obviously I come out here and do my best to give you guys the best information I can. And, as a thank you, right, you could just share the content, make sure you like the video and subscribe. And that is plenty for me. And again, it is much appreciated because, again, I'm here to help people. And the more people I can help, the better. And the only way that I can get in front of more people is, if YouTube sees that this video and the content we provide is a value to students just like you. And because you guys engage on the content and like the video and subscribe, YouTube sees your algorithm, and then it seasons, who it reaches for to put in front of this content because of the things you guys look at. It attracts the right people, I should say. You know what I mean? So that's why it's so important and so helpful, right? So yeah. Yeah, what a beautiful opportunity we talked about just right there. Didn't take the entry, but talked about this beautiful execution to target the highs, right? Price was to pull back and offer something. It should go above this quickly, and it did exactly that, right? Offered 30, there's the minimums. Beautiful, right? Well, like I said, guys, I guess we'll put a ribbon on it. I hope you guys got value. If we just flip through this real quick, right? We see that buy side is still being targeted as we assumed it most likely would. Downside is starting to be more protracted on the yields. Buy side starting to be more protracted on the bonds. And again, DXY, we're still inside of this gap in here. I do think it most likely will refuse to get up here if we are going to be aggressive to the short side. That supports the fact that the indices have now finally rebounded, right? So yeah, hopefully we can continue to see that. We'll see what happens during NFP. That's going to be the deciding factor as far as whether that has rebounded or, maybe we're still maybe looking to go lower. For the time being, though, we're going to assume that, we've been shown the market's hand that it wants to go higher now. So everything that we look at needs to paint that narrative. Okay, and then of course, like I've mentioned before, we definitely should think about this high up here being our line in the sand overall. But let me just look at S&P too. Yeah, the S&P's got that gap in there. So yeah, again, this high getting violated, that's definitely my line in the sand, like I mentioned, okay? So we're going to be looking to, look to buy, right? It seems like things have been continuously being respected in here. we couldn't even get down into these lows, and it's just rampaging. So we'll see what NFP does to fully justify. Otherwise, if these get left open, again, this is going to continue to run higher. If we do displace and get down into these levels, obviously we may not be fully done. This high may stop the whole buy-side delivery from taking place if it does end up using NFP to decline aggressively. Maybe get us down into these levels. These levels are my line in the sand. We have a fair value gap, swing low, and a volume imbalance. Okay, so those are my line in the sand for buys. If it gets down there, we're going to look to short. Otherwise, we're going to stick to what we've been talking about and take this as our start to a change in the overall state of delivery from bearish to bullish, right? And that's the lens we will now be looking at things through as the days progress and the weeks pass. Okay, so we have the currencies too. They're stuck. This is all anticipation for NFP, so I'm not surprised. And yeah, I think we just about covered all I want to talk about. We do want to keep in mind this SMT here too. Okay. We got this gap in here with this swing high. If that swing high is violated and we get above this, the Dow will also be supportive of buy-side adjustments. Okay. And we got this fair value gap, so that should be able to continuously hold the S&P as well. Okay, so it should be able to hold the S&P using this as a balanced price range. Right, similar to the stuff that we've talked about this morning. Okay. So yeah, that about does it. And let me see. So if PM session kill zone starts bearish, best to wait until it aligns bullish again. If the PM session, or did you mean AM session? You mean PM? So you're talking about PM session? I don't really trade the PM session, in all honesty. I do understand how it works with like the if the AM session's very aggressive, expect the PM session to retrace to some of the lows that were created from the 8:30 AM Pacific Standard Time to 10:30 AM Pacific Standard Time. Okay, that's basically the lunch hour or lunch. It's like 2 hours. Okay, so lows that form in there, significant lows. If we're bullish, and the AM session was aggressive, it could reasonably look to retrace and take those out first, possibly. It all depends, right? Kind of like what's engaged. If the AM session was very, very slow, and we go into the PM session and it hasn't really done much, obviously the liquidity that was left, you want to look and see if it's going to be taken. But you always want to revert back to the higher time frame, always. No matter what. Right? No matter what. You want to think of power of 3. You want to be able to map out what power of 3 has done throughout the morning, especially. See, PM session could, in many cases, be a little easier to trade because you also have even more information to go off of in terms of liquidity and what price has done, right? So AM session highs and lows, those are part of our list of liquidity that we look to be engaged or as a target. Aside from like London's low, London's high, previous day's highs and lows, so on and so forth. Okay? And just like how if London was really quick, we anticipate the AM session to either be slow or go against what London did before it takes off in the intended direction. It's very similar with the PM session as well. But it could also, if the AM session is very quick and we're in a hurry to get somewhere, obviously the PM session can also act as continuation too. But regardless, the lunch hour highs and lows going into the PM session are significant because they could be used as a power 3, right? There's a first presented fair value gap too, from what I've been hearing. There's a first presented fair value gap after the lunch hour start, or the lunch hour ends. Okay, so going into the start of PM session, there's also a first presented fair value gap there as well. Just a little nugget for y'all that may have missed that. I've been hearing that thrown around. One of my friends was talking to me about it the other day. I don't trade PM session, so I'm like, okay, cool, dude. I don't really worry about it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Again, if you do trade one session, you don't want to take the whole New York session and trade the entire New York session. Like, you don't want to trade AM session and PM session. If you're you got to trade one or the other, because if you're doing both of them have characteristics that you got to master in order to be effective in them. I've stayed in AM session because it has the strongest behavior when it comes to using the overnight liquidity, and I'm very, very proficient in using overnight liquidity. And so that's kind of where I've planted myself, and that's what I've decided. So I trade AM and I never trade PM. So you also kind of want to consider it. As you're studying, though, you obviously want to get familiar with both because you want to be well-rounded. So then you can use that information from the session you don't trade in the next session that you do trade. Okay? So yeah, eventually you want to be a super specialist with one asset, with a couple supporting assets, one session, preferably one time in the session, like macros, for example, and master that process. Obviously, again, mastery takes time. So, do as much study as you can, and you guys will be fine, I'm sure of it. Especially those of you that are here and you spend time here all the time, you're going to be absolutely fine. You're in the right place. You're exactly where you need to be in your overall trading journey, and you're not going to live there for that long. Okay, you're gonna speed up and improve fairly quickly, I promise you. But yeah, I think the cops are after me right now, so you hear that helicopter? So I guess we'll call it a day, you guys. So thanks again for hopping on. Hope you guys got value from today. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And I'll see y'all here on YouTube Live on Sunday. And I'll see you beautiful people in my private community tomorrow morning. And of course, we'll talk in the Discord. All right? With that being said, you guys, God bless. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Don't hurt yourself, please. NFP is upon us, and we want to be able to trade for another day. All right? So, all right, you guys, take care.